see my screen now?
Yes, thank you. And so just a reminder, we have 15 minutes starting now.
Okay. So
Thank you.
hello everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Szu-Tien Peng and I'm from National Chang University in Taiwan. So today I would like to share our research linking components of aesthetic experience with aesthetic information processing. So before heading into the main part of our study, I would like to provide a background knowledge for everyone. So as the development of the economy, we have now headed into experience economy. So according to World Economic Forum, 78% of millennials choose to spend money on a desirable experience over something material. And experiences create lasting happiness and meaningful part of one's identity, showing that experience is nowadays important for everyone. And also, based on Harvard Business Review, we can see that the progression of economic value has changed over times, starting from the vestige of agrarian economy to industry-based economy and to service economy and eventually to experience economy. So based on the development, we can know that consumers now they are more willing to pay more for differentiated and premium products, services, or say experiences. So aesthetic, another important term in this study is aesthetic. So aesthetic is a Greek word that can be dated back to the 17,000s, meaning of or for perception by the senses or perceptive of things. So the meaning of it was actually known by everyone because of Alexander Baumgarten. So Baumgarten in 1750s provided that he defined aesthetic as a criticism of taste, while Kant in 1830s defined it as a sensuous perception, and later on Dewey defined it as the quality of experience. So as the development of aesthetic experience also came into place. So Baumgarten focused on being conscious of our own perfection of sensible cognition, while Kant focused on pure judgments and Dewey focused on the meaningful development. So based on what we have so far, we can know that aesthetic experience is actually highly relevant to one's sensory input and the meaning making. So here I would like to provide an example, which is the Share the Code campaign back in 2011 in Australia, and it was a big hit. So later on, I'll show three pictures showing different contexts, but they're all advertisements for this campaign, Share the Coke. So in the first picture, we can see that the name Janice is emphasized, showing like the advertisement here shows one's value through providing the names on the package of the Coke. The second context here shows that to share a Coke with a mate, either a friend or a partner. And the third context here shows that it can be cheerful to share a Coke with a group of friends. So there are three contexts here, but through the context, we can see that the different contexts can cater to different types of consumers, showing that consumers are now more emphasizing the experience they are going throughout the process of consumption. So the key literature here, this is the concept map of our study. So we would like to integrate components of aesthetic experience with aesthetic information processing models. So the 9 components here are so far in the study discovered individually in different studies. But after literature review, we found out that it is highly relevant to the processing model we mentioned in this study. So first, I would like to define each key terminology to you and then explain how we integrate it into the model. So the first term here is curiosity. Curiosity is defined as a metacognitive feeling with expected progress and information gain. And especially in this study, we would like to use perceptual curiosity in specific. as it is related to visual and sensory inspection. Aesthetic arousal is defined as the activation level of emotional experience, while aesthetic chills is a psychophysiological responses to rewarding stimuli. Aesthetic interest is a positive aesthetic response elicited by disfluency reduction and it is perceiver driven, while aesthetic pleasure is stimulus driven and it is a pleasurable subjective experience directed toward an object and affected by gut level fluency. Aesthetic appraisal is a cognitive process interpreting symbolic and formal aspects of an aesthetic stimulus, while aesthetic muteness can be a silence as response because of not knowing or failing to recall aesthetic experience. Aesthetic emotions are what perceivers feel instead of what represented by the stimulus provided, while aesthetic judgment is a cognitive based response reflecting perceivers' understanding and interpretation. So, after the 9 definitions of the terms, I would like to share that the models we have through literature review. So, these are the models we reached through research, through during research, and in this study, we would like to integrate the components mentioned with the 5 stage model proposed by Letter et al. As compared in the chart, you can see that the 5 stage model compared to other models are more complete because of its composing of narrative and formal appraisal level. And at the same time, the feature of this model is actually more structured and more explicit compared to other models. So this is the original model we retrieved from Letter et al. Study. So to put it brief, this is the brief format of the models. So during an aesthetic experience, we will always start with a stimuli and end with a decision making. So during the process, there could be automatic and deliberate processing stages. So here, and in each stage, in the study by Letter et al., he defined each stage with different kind of criteria. So in the first stage, perceptual analyses, he mentioned that there could be basic occipital visual processing and arousal potential. And in the second stage, implicit memory integration, there could be familiarity, prototypicality, and peak shifts affecting the perceivers. As for the third stage, explicit classification, it could include expertise in content, style, and also pleasure of generalization. In cognitive mastering, it could include art specific interpretation or self related interpretation. And also in this stage, perceivers will go through a reward center activation, feeling a sense of pleasure after perceiving an aesthetic stimulus. And finally, for evaluation, here perceivers may be able to understand the ambiguity and feel satisfied and at last feel self rewarding. So based on the 5 stage model, we would like to integrate it with the components I just mentioned, and how we integrated it will be mentioned later. So for the first stage perceptual analyses, we would like to connect it with curiosity because of the feature sensory inspection and novel perceptual stimulation. So in this stage, perceivers will get some input and have their primary processing stage. And in the second stage, implicit memory integration, we would like to connect it with aesthetic arousal and aesthetic chills because of the feature of activation and response. So the activation can be the activation of past experience or the familiarity of such stimuli. As for response, they may have some emotional or physical response towards the stimuli, which makes us believe that it is quite relevant with the second stage implicit memory integration. As for the third stage, explicit classification, we would like to integrate it with aesthetic interest and aesthetic pleasure, as this stage include expertise in content and style and also the pleasure of generalization. So in this part, this is also supported by another model, PIA model provided by Graf and Landwehr. So in this stage, aesthetic pleasure and aesthetic interest are also in the part of automatic processing and controlled processing, which matches what we proposed here. So this makes us believe that, oh, aesthetic pleasure and aesthetic interest could be in this stage. And the next stage, cognitive mastering. In this part, we would like to put aesthetic appraisal with it for the feature of cognitive interpretation and the focus on both narrative and form. So for narrative, it can mean the content of the stimuli provided, while for form, it could be the style provided. So as mentioned, in this part, the cognitive level of thinking take into place. So the perceiver may analyze the stimuli based on their own expertise, either art specific or self related. And for this part, cognitive mastering and evaluation is creates a loop. So after perceiving the stimuli with at cognitive level, perceivers can be able to evaluate whether this stimuli creates ambiguity or it makes them satisfied or even self-rewarding. So after evaluation, the perceivers may have aesthetic judgments or aesthetic emotions. The two components here are already in the model. So like in the model, it is predicted that consumers can have a judgment or emotions based on the stimuli provided and their cognitive and intrinsic. So here we would like to add aesthetic muteness. So as mentioned previously, aesthetic muteness is silence as response. So as everyone may know, like we won't always react to a stimulus with a specific judgment or emotion. So aesthetic muteness is actually happening in our daily life. So we would like to add this component into our study and also integrate it into the processing model to make the whole process more complete. So in this study, we provide the literature review to connect the 9 proposed aesthetic elements into one of the model, 5-stage model proposed by Leder et al. And what we have just explained, I think it provides a structured background for it to make it to provide a reasonable way for them to be integrated together. Because for now, all different elements are explained differently, explained individually in different studies, and the model are also now focusing on the art specific. So in our opinion, we think that by integrating them together, we could arouse or maybe stimulate more experiments or more further studies in the future. So as a conclusion, so after providing the integration of the components and the aesthetic processing models, we predict that in the future studies can add some stimuli into the process to test if it is really working. So right now, the aesthetic information processing models remain on the field of art. However, in all the studies we've reached, scholars provided the information at last that it is possible that this model be fit into other fields with other stimuli. So here we predict that in the future, by adding some stimuli, we could test whether this could work. For example, the stimuli may be advertisements to see whether the advertisements putting into the aesthetic information processing can suggest how consumers have changed over time. So this is my sharing, and this is the reference list, and thank you.